What's up, boys? It's ya dude, Derek the Anamorph, and we're back with another Beyblade Burst, Chozy review. This time of probably, my favorite Chozy Beyblade in the whole series, No Longer Alive Hades. I don't just like it because of the name, it's also got, like, a really cool design, super good for attack, it has a good driver. It's just an all-around really cool Beyblade. Even in like the anime too, they made it look really cool with the special move and stuff. But anyways, the first part of this Beyblade's name, Dead, refers to the English word dead, which is a synonym for no longer alive. And that's where the name No Longer Alive Hades comes from, first of all. So I just thought I'd get that out of the way. That was something that, like, Mono Dragon wrote in one of his drafts on the part, even though he doesn't actually own it. So first up, the layer Dead Hades. It was advertised as the heaviest layer, and it, like, kind of was, kind of wasn't. I think it's 22.1 grams is the official weight, which is 0.1 grams heavier than Hell Salamander. But Revive Phoenix was 24 at the time, but that's kind of like two parts. So I don't know if that would really count. It's the heaviest like one-piece layer I think still in the game. Well, one-piece layer if you count like all the GT layers as multiple pieces, which I guess you can, but they don't like disassemble during battle like the Phoenixes do. But anyways, yeah, it's pretty heavy. The teeth are not very good on it at all, which I think is a pretty good design choice by Takara Tomy, and I'll go into why later. It's like, oh yeah, I'll go into it later, but the design on it is kind of like the layer weights in the GT series that came later, because it has the little hexagon in the middle and the hexagons on the side. So this layer is probably, as of right now, my favorite layer for attack in all of Beyblade Burst. There's some people like Slash or Ace or Chozy Achilles or Chozy Valkyrie better than Dead Hades, but I found Chozy Valkyrie to be worse than Winning Valkyrie, and especially after I found Dead Hades to be better at attack than Chozy Achilles, and I definitely think that's true after what happened at the tournament I went to last weekend. I basically used Chozy Achilles Sting Bearing and lost to Hell Salamander on Atomic. And then I used Dead Hades Double O Dagger Extreme Dash, and I beat Perfect Phoenix with it, so I still think this is... I don't own Slash or Ace yet, but I've heard that they're good, but they don't outperform like what's currently available. So I don't know if they are better than Dead Hades. Dead Hades is still, I think it's the best attack layer. It's my favorite attack layer. I felt super confident using it. Like, in practice I was getting it. The combo I usually use with it is either 8 dash or double O dagger, extreme dash, or jolt dash, depending on like what I'm trying to do with it. Like double O, it hits a lot harder than 8 dash, but 8 dash is faster and it self bursts less, and the driver I use is all depending like whether I'm finding jolt or extreme easier to control that day. But no, I was getting this thing to beat Revive Phoenix. I beat Perfect Phoenix with it at a tournament. I beat Archer Hercules with it. I could beat Chozy Spriggan, Hell Salamander. I was getting it to KO all of these pretty consistently, or burst them. So, Dead Hades is, in my opinion, the best attack layer in the game. It also recently got re-released in Random Booster 15 in this, like, nasty green color, but, like, nasty in a good way. So, I'm definitely trying to pick that up because it also comes with Extreme Dash. So definitely get Dead Hades, it's a great layer. And yeah, the teeth thing. So, you might think it's bad because it has bad teeth, but it's basically like Chozy Storm Spriggan, because Takara made it this way, so you can only basically use it with dash drivers if you want it to not burst. And all of the dash drivers, except for like Zeta Dash, and I think one other thing, are just like designed to be attack type drivers. Like even the ones that are labeled as balance, like Zephyr Dash, everyone knows it's really an attack driver, even though it's labeled as balance for some reason. Zeta Dash is, well, Hold Dash and Destroy Dash are kind of like stamina, life after death, but they're not too good in same spin, or for like, some people like using Destroy for just attack. I'm not a huge fan of it personally, just because I don't like trying to sliding shoot Jaggy. But overall, Extreme Dash, Jolt Dash, Quick Dash, Hunter Dash, Zephyr Dash, probably Excel Dash. Some people like it on Destroy Dash. I'm not a huge fan of it though. It's really good on all of those drivers as an attack type. Please try it out. So the disc is 11, which came on Z Achilles and Crash Ragnarok, and I think one other thing before it that wasn't a random booster, but I forget what. It also is on Cosmo Valkyrie, but basically 11 is one of the CHO discs that's pretty light. I think it's only like 18 point something grams. I could be misremembering that, but when I tested it, I found it to perform pretty similarly to Knuckle. So if it ever gets unbanned in Burst Classic, which it may one day, I could see it being used for that. But I guess the one combo I kind of used it on that was a little bit viable when it first came out was Twin Nemesis 11 Iron. But it's kind of like too light, doesn't have enough stamina, and like the burst resistance, since nothing really bursts nowadays, except for like GT stuff that people don't use, it's not, the burst resistance you get from being so light isn't really like helpful at all anymore. So it's kind of just an outclassed, unusable disc in standard. It might see some like minor use in limited, maybe on that Twin Nemesis combo, maybe on some other stuff. And if it ever gets unbanned in Classic, I can see it being used a lot there. But just overall, it's not really a disc. It may have use in the future, but it's not very useful now. The frame is Turn, which is a bit like the SW145 spin track from MFB, in the sense that you can attach it to the core disc two different ways. There's it's called attack mode because Dead Hades is right spin. This is actually defense mode, but there's defense mode, right spin defense mode, left spin attack mode, because Dead Hades is right spin, where the blunt edge of the points is spinning this way. So like when you contact an opponent, it hits this, and if you take it off and flip it upside down, you get the other direction, where like the sharper edge will hit the opponents. This doesn't really end up happening unless you use like a super tall driver like Volcanic or whatever else, like Extend Plus maybe. But what people have found Turn to be good at is that since it hangs over the driver so much, kind of like Lift or Wall, is that they'll use it on Bearing, or in my case Hold, because it will lower the center of gravity enough that the driver won't fall over once it stops spinning. But in that sense, Turn has been outclassed in pretty much every way by Wall, just because Wall's a little bit heavier and lowers the center of gravity a little bit more. It's also a little smoother than Turn. Turn has these weird, like, I don't even know what to call them, like notches on the bottom. Walls are a little like more flat, so you don't, Turn will kind of like bump on the ground while Wall kind of like scrapes a little bit more smoothly, if that makes any sense. So, it might be useful for attack combos, it's just that like, because it does have like the most aggressive shape out of the three big frames, or the three bearing frames, but just because it sits so low on the Beyblade that if you use something like Jolt especially, but like Extreme or Hunter, or just assume these are all dash drivers or quick, you will probably scrape if you try and sliding shoot it at an angle, just because It'll scrape on the stadium as the Beyblade tilts, and that's also not good for like stamina either, normally. And then finally the driver is Zephyr Dash, which I believe is still the only way to get this driver. I can't remember if it was re-released since then, but Zephyr Dash is, I think, the best tornado stalling driver in Beyblade Burst right now. It unfortunately doesn't see a ton of use in Standard just because there's so much opposite spin. Zephyr Dash just doesn't have the power to KO an opposite spin opponent, and it doesn't have the precision or the life after death to outlast them either. So in that sense, it's outclassed by all of the rubber dash drivers. And I found it to have more stamina than normal Zephyr. And since normal Zephyr has more stamina than normal Excel, it would stand to reason that Zephyr Dash has more stamina than Excel Dash, so it would also outclass that. If it stays unbanned in Burst Classic, which it may not, just because Tornado Stallers might be like overpowered if it stays in there. If you have something like Guardian Kirbyus or Acid Anubis on Zephyr Dash, then there's not much that's going to be able to outspin that consistently, and it's going to be more difficult to hit than a stationary stamina type, just because you have to like predict correctly with how the opponent's going to launch and then launch accordingly. But it's a good driver. It just might not see a ton of use just because of other circumstances, but it's like by no means a bad driver. It'll definitely be useful in Burst Classic. Maybe in Burst Limited too, with like Twin Nemesis. If they make an Iron Dash driver, that's probably going to outclass Zephyr Dash. I could see that happening. I kind of want Iron Dash, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Zephyr Dash is, yeah, it's okay, it's just I don't think it's top tier at the moment. It's an interesting part, and it can definitely be used. It's just finding a place where you can use it is difficult. So overall, the Random Booster 12 Dead Hades it's a really cool Beyblade. Like I said, it's my favorite CHO Beyblade, but unless you really want Zephyr Dash, because I'm not sure if it's been released, I would totally, like, 100% recommend picking up the, what's it called? The Random Booster 15 Dead Hades instead. The green one. Because it comes with Extreme Dash, which is usable. Extreme Dash is never not going to be top tier, I think. I said that about normal Extreme, but that's because I never knew. Back in like 2015, it was like, okay, Extreme's never not going to be top tier, and then, because I didn't know Extreme Dash was going to be a thing, I don't think anyone could have predicted that, but, Extreme Dash is better in Zephyr Dash, it's useful in every format. 8 Dash is a better disc than 11 in my opinion. Expand is, I don't know if it's better than Turn, but it's like at least top of its class in something. It's good on Atomic and Destroy, and possibly Absorb too, because like stuff that tends to be good on those two also tends to be good on Absorb. But I don't have Expand, so I haven't tested that. And then it comes with Dead Hades, but overall, and it's also not the prize, so it's gonna be just overall a better value buy than the Random Booster 12 Dead Hades. If you want to get the Random Booster 15 version instead. So after that, after this comes like CHO Valkyrie, which is my favorite version of Valkyrie so far. So I'm looking forward to doing that review too. So I will see you guys then.